Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in the world on the 23rd of March of 2026. Today we have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. You know, when I woke up today, this morning on the 23rd of March of 2026, on this Monday, and when I read articles and updates about the situation in the world, when I found out what happened yesterday in the evening and what happened overnight, I came to the conclusion that this Monday must be the worst Monday of 2026, and obviously this is going to be the Black Monday of 2026, of March of 2026. And you know that I obviously wasn't the only person who woke up this morning and read all these articles and all these different things that happened in the world during the previous 24 hours. As I know, the President of the United States of America did the same. He woke up in the morning, he read everything, he read articles, report, and he came to the same conclusion that most likely this Monday is going to be the worst Monday of 2026. So that is why the President of the United States of America came to the conclusion that he must save this Monday, and he made a statement. He made a statement that he is pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and the tone of these in-depth, detailed and constructive conversations, which will continue through the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meeting and discussions. So, and right after the President of the United States of America made this statement, oil prices went down. So once again, the level prices in the morning were on the level, for example, WTI of $101.43 per barrel, and right after the President of the United States of America made a statement that everything is okay and we are about to make a deal with the Iranians, the oil prices dropped significantly to the level of $89.20 per barrel. One thing is clear, that this statement made by the President of the United States of America shocked probably every single person in the world, but probably this statement shocked most of all the Iranians, who found out that basically they have some negotiation process with the United States of America, and that the Iranians are about to sign a deal, and later we realized that the Iranians knew nothing about this. And of course, the Iranians began making their own statements. For example, Iran's foreign ministry says there are no talks with Washington and accuses Trump of buying time while regional de-escalation efforts go on. Another important statement: there is no longer any room for talk with the Americans. They deceived us with promises of no attack, and even after significant progress in negotiations, they decided to attack us regardless. Another important statement: we deny what US President Donald Trump has stated about the ongoing negotiations between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. So as you can see, an Iranian sources, so far as news agency, there is no direct or indirect connection with Trump. He retreated after hearing that our targets would be all power plants in West Asia. So we see that the Iranians rejected everything that was stated by the President of the United States of America, and as a result, oil prices have reacted immediately. And right after the Iranians began publishing their statements on the matter of negotiations, about that there are no negotiation at all, the oil prices began growing up once again, and by the time I started making this video, the price for WTI was on the level of $91.21 per barrel. So this is a very interesting situation, because now the President of the United States of America needs to find a solution how to counter the statements that was made by the Iranians. How to explain people, how to explain media that there is a negotiation process, and currently what the Iranians are saying is something that he doesn't understand what is happening right now. But we need to understand another important thing about the statement of the President of the United States of America, that the Americans are going to postpone any attacks on energy infrastructure of Iran for the next 5 days. And you know that these 5 days is a very interesting number. because according to different sources and according to different media, right in 5 days, according to information we have, the 31st Marine unit will arrive in the area of the Middle East. So as you can see, we have at least 2 events that have the same dates and same deadlines. The United States of America postponed attacks on energy infrastructure of Iran for 5 days till Friday of 2026, and almost during the same period of time, the 31st Expeditionary Unit of the United States of America will arrive in this area. So it seems that this ceasefire that was announced by the United States of America is something like a way to prepare before a bigger escalation. The President of the United States of America understands that there is no need to to push prices. There is no need for this panic. He understands that as of now, it's very good to have prices on the level of $80 per barrel or $90 per barrel, but not higher than $100 per barrel. And if you know that the ground operation is going to take place within a week, so what is the reason to make panic through the oil market? It's better to calm the situation down. And everything that we saw today in the morning published by the President of the United States of America is something like this. He was trying to stabilize the oil market, and everything will be resolved by the end of this week when the 31st Marine unit will arrive in this area. At the same time, we continue receiving reports that the Iranians are controlling the Strait of Hormuz. We received lots of updates and we received lots of maps and first reports that the first vessels began crossing the Strait of Hormuz under the deal with the Iranians. 3 vessels, Indian LPG tankers Pine Gas and Jack Vasant, and Chinese oil chemical tanker Bright Gold appear to be using the new Iran-approved route around Larak Island this morning. So first 3 vessels crossed this territory. Currently, we don't know for sure whether they paid a fee to Iranians or not, because according to information we have, 2 days ago, Tehran introduced a new approach to controlling the Strait of Hormuz, starting to charge non-allied ships $2 million for passage. We don't know for sure whether these vessels from India and China paid this fee, but according to information we have, these states considered as allied or friendly states for Iranians, at least China 100%, probably India as well. So that is why we believe that these vessels didn't pay anything to the Iranians. And this new world is very dangerous, of course, for the Middle East states like Saudi Arabia, like Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates, and because the Iranians continue bombing and attacking these territories, and the Iranians are not allowing these states to use the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz for their purposes. Today we received additional pictures, for example, from Fujairah Oil Terminal, United Arab Emirates. Here we can see the differences between the dates. As you can see, this facility was damaged significantly. Furthermore, we continue and receiving updates from different objects of military infrastructure. Lots of radars, air defense systems, and forces of the United Arab Emirates that belong to the United States of America were damaged significantly. So we can say that currently the United Arab Emirates is heavily unprotected, we can say. The same situation take place in the state of Qatar. Furthermore, we see that the Qatarians are losing and suffering expenses and so on, and the same situation in the state of Bahrain. Furthermore, when talking about Bahrain, today we received a very interesting update that the Kingdom of Jordan has sent 5,000 riot policemen to Bahrain at the request of Saudi Arabia, fearing an overthrow of the Al Khalifa family, which rules the country. So the situation is so difficult that riots can start taking place through the Middle East that can lead to different coups or something like this. And this is something that obviously these these, let's say, states are not interested in. But the question is how they're going to get out of this situation. Currently, nobody has answer to this question. Anyway, let's wait and see what is going to be next, because this upcoming night is going to be very important, because this upcoming night will show us whether the Iranians are going to launch more missiles in the direction of the US assets through the territory of the Middle East, and this is going to be a signal. If the Iranians are not going to launch any missile wave in the direction of the Middle East states this upcoming night, or this missile wave is going to be just a symbolic media wave, then we can say that probably something indeed is happening behind the doors. But if the Iranians are going to attack heavily, then we'll see that nothing is going to change, and the Iranians are very, very serious about probably the next waves of escalation. And when talking about the officials of the Iranians, today they stated that they're going to increase or intensify their attacks. The IRGC Aerospace Forces will intensify its offensive operations starting tonight. So this is also something like a reply to the statement of the President of the United States of America that there is a negotiation process behind the doors. So this is probably another answer, and this is a very loud answer. Now let's move to Ukraine. During the previous 24 hours, we received lots of very important updates from this area. And the most important updates are related to the massive attack that took place overnight between the 22nd and the 23rd of March of 2026. I would like to remind you that according to media, the Ukrainians attacked the territory of the Russian Federation using hundreds of drones between the 22nd and the 23rd of March of 2026. And as you can see, the largest wave of drones was heading in the northern direction. Later, we start receiving first updates and first reports that the Ukrainians were trying to attack the oil infrastructure in the area of the city by the name of Primorsk. So this is one of the most important cities of the Russian Federation that plays a significant role in the Russian export potential. And this city, more precisely the oil infrastructure in the area of the city, was damaged. We're talking about this territory. So the Ukrainians used hundreds of drones, and many drones managed to get this territory. And when the Ukrainians began bombing and attacking, we start receiving updates on this matter. And this is the first picture, this is the first picture, the first article that was published by different sources. And here we can see these oil refineries, oil storage reservoirs, oil reservoirs, fuel reservoirs on the map. And here we can see a small fire anomaly in the top, in the bottom left corner. So in this area, just a small fire anomaly in the bottom left corner. And this is the first update that we received right after probably several hours when the Ukrainians began attacking this territory. Few hours later, we received additional report, this one, and here we can see that fire covered the entire object of energy infrastructure. So from top to bottom, from left to right, everything was covered with the fire, which means that the Ukrainians managed to deal significant damage. Later, we received another video, this one. Here we can see how exactly the Ukrainians were attacking this territory. As you can see, probably 2, 3, 4, 5 explosions were recorded just during this video, very heavy explosions, as you can see. And here we can see the same episode, but from another angle. Here we can see just an explosion. And later we received this video that was published by some Russian who was passing by. Here we can see the biggest fire ever that's covered the entire object of energy infrastructure. And this video tells us just about one thing, that obviously this object of fuel infrastructure was significantly damaged or probably even destroyed. And another important update that was published during all these things, during all these events, is a satellite picture. So these are satellite pictures from the same area, and here we can see details about the attack. We see that the top left corner was completely destroyed, and we can see, according to these pictures that were made by satellite, that the bottom right corner was also significantly damaged. So I have a few questions. The first question: what is this satellite doing here? What was this satellite doing when the Ukrainians were attacking this territory? So we know that usually when something happens, you need to there should be a satellite of this area. Then you need to find probably a website where you can check that this or that satellite captured this or that territory. You need to be 100% sure that there were no skies over this territory. Then you need to order a picture. Then it will take, I believe, several hours before a picture of this or that part of Earth is being published, and then you will receive detailed situation of this or that territory. But when talking about this particular case, we see that the US, or not US, probably some satellites were over this territory during the attack, and these satellites were making this video online. They were making a footage of this territory. So this, and we know that the Ukrainians, they don't have satellites that can make such things. So which means that this attack in the direction of this oil refinery was prepared by the Ukrainian side, by probably some Western countries and Western allies of Ukraine who has access to satellites and who can do something like this, who can coordinate and who can provide the results of attacks in online mode. So this is the situation as of the end of the 23rd of March. The Russians still haven't made any statements on the matter of this attack. Some sources reported that maybe this upcoming night the Russians will carry out a massive attack through the territory of Ukraine, trying to attack energy infrastructure and facilities. But as of the moment when I started making this video, we haven't received anything on this matter. Maybe by the time you watch this video, the Russians will begin bombing and attacking, who knows. As for the previous 24 hours, the Russians attacked the territory of Ukraine with drones and missiles, and the Russians used, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, 251 drones for these purposes, and we received some videos from the southern parts of Ukraine, from the city of Kryvyi Rog, from Dnipro region, from the city of Odessa and the territory around, so about the objects that were attacked by Russians. Small hangars, some constructions, energy infrastructure, some railway service, railway stations, and so on. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and let's discuss the most important updates of the previous 24 hours. And first, let's talk about the Kupiansk direction. During the previous day, we have adjusted the map completely, and we have colored probably up to 95% of the city of Kupiansk and the complete control of the armed forces of Ukraine. So these are the changes on the ground. This is the end of the 22nd, and this is the end of the 23rd of March of 2026. We received a lot of videos during the previous days of how Ukrainian soldiers were moving through the western part of Kupiansk without almost any resistance from the Russian side, and we came to the conclusion that most likely the Ukrainians finished the battle for this territory, and the Russians were forced to fall back on the eastern bank of the river Oskol, where the Russians are trying to finish the battle for the eastern bank of the river. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Kupiansk, in the Kostiantynivka direction. As you can see, the map has been adjusted significantly. During the previous day, we received lots of updates from this area, and all these updates are telling us just about one thing. The Russians, as a result of offensive operation, managed to establish complete control over the southwestern parts of the city and over the southern parts of the city of Kostiantynivka. As you can see, we have huge changes on the ground. These updates, this report was published by pro-Russian sources. Here we can see the changes that were provided by pro-Russian sources, and according to them, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly in the southwestern part of the settlement, and the Russians improved their position significantly through the citadel of the city of Kostiantynivka. So the most fortified territory of the city of Kostiantynivka was captured by Russians, according to pro-Russian sources. Later, we received another video published by pro-Ukrainian sources, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking different positions and buildings with Russian soldiers inside. So in this video, we can see how Ukrainians attacked this building, how they dropped grenades inside of the building, and so on, which means that this building most likely was something like an edge position of the armed armored forces of the Russian Federation along the river of Kryvyi Tarets. Later we received another video from this area where we can see how a Ukrainian drone was moving through the building on the territory of this construction. So this building was also attacked by the Ukrainian FPV drone. So which means that the Russians also during the previous days managed to improve their position significantly. So from this perspective we can make a conclusion that most likely now the Russians are tasked to encircle the Ukrainians who are currently located in this part of the city of Kostiantynivka, and it seems that the Russians managed to complete this task. Now the Ukrainians need either to counterattack the pincers with the purpose to unblock the Ukrainians in the most southern parts of the settlement, or the Ukrainians need to begin retreating, trying to avoid the complete encirclement. So two scenarios are possible. The only thing that is that the Ukrainians don't have a lot of time for thinking. They need either to retreat during the upcoming days, or they need to counterattack with the purpose to force the Russians to leave their positions through these pincers. So the situation is very difficult and critical, because if this is exactly what the Russians are doing right now, and if this is exactly the configuration of the front line, we can say that the Russians managed to break through the most defensive, the most powerful defense line of the city of Kostiantynivka itself in the north-southwestern part. So if Russians are able to take this territory under complete control, we are talking about everything, let's say, along this red line, this will tell us, and this will signal that the Russians managed to break through the most powerful part of the city, and the rest part of the city of Kostiantynivka would be much more easier for Russians to advance, because currently the Russians are fighting for the high-rise building area, a lots of buildings, a lots of citadels, a lots of strongholds, and as for the northern parts we see just small buildings and so on. The Russians from this side of Kostiantynivka would be able to control the entire Kostiantynivka and the rest of it. So let's wait and see. This is a very interesting development, but if this is true, then everything right now will start making much faster, much faster. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous 24 hours, we haven't received anything special. And that's it for today. The Military Summary channel reminds to we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye-bye.